Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Brooklyn Technical High School Virtual College Fair. We're so glad to have you. Just a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. Your camera and your microphone are off for this event, so the panelists cannot see or hear you today. However, the Q&A button on your screen is live, so make sure you get those questions to our panelists today. You don't have to save your questions until a certain institution is presenting. If you have questions for any of our presenters, go ahead and submit them at any time today. This is one of many different sessions happening. It is our last one for the evening. However, we have 2 more nights of this event, so we hope you'll take a look at the schedules and sign up for additional sessions. And this presentation, along with all of the others, are being recorded and will be available within about a week at strivescan.com/Brooklyn Tech. I'll put that link in the chat as well. But now for our main event, we have a wonderful group of institutions, and kicking it off for us today is the University of Rochester. Whenever you're ready.
Is my audio okay?
You sound great.
Right. Okay, great. Fantastic. Sorry, I'm having one of those evenings where, and you can see my screen, right? Can I get a thumbs up, Jeannie? Yay, thank you so much. Hi, folks. My name is Erica Padilla. I'm the Regional Associate Director for the University of Rochester. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the admissions counselor for all students that are coming from all 5 boroughs of New York City. So the University of Rochester, we're actually located in the city of Rochester. We're on the ancestral lands of the Seneca people in an area of New York State that's known as Western New York. That's known as the Finger Lakes region of Western New York. And we're about roughly 6 hours from New York City. But if you're like me and you prefer to actually fly, it's actually a 30 to 45-minute shuttle flight. The Rochester airport is like 10 minutes from campus, so it's super convenient. The River campus, I like to think of that as our hub or our heartbeat, and that's because the River campus is home to the College of Arts, Sciences, and Engineering, which I represent. It's basically all of the undergraduate programs that are offered by the university, except for those that are offered by Eastman, which is our School of Music that's located in downtown Rochester. On the River campus, you'll also find our graduate schools of engineering, School of Business, and School of Education, several of which we've partnered to offer direct admission to some of our graduate programs. And then not in the picture, directly across the street is actually the University of Rochester Medical Center, as well as our School of Medicine, with which we've also partnered to offer direct admission. That's a 4+4 BSMD program for direct admission to medical school. The River campus is also home to 5,500 undergraduate students. So we're primarily a residential community. Most of our students will stay on campus for all 4 years. You have to live on campus for your first 2, but it's just one of those things that students enjoy, the spirit of community that exists on campus. It's helpful to note also, Rochester is one of the largest employers in our region. That's a lot to do with our healthcare network, the medical center, and then all the various institutes and research facilities that make up the university. And so they offer a lot of resources to students to be able to have a lot of hands-on opportunities. So being on campus definitely makes that pretty accessible for you. Usually when I meet with students, there's a lot of curiosity to know more about what defines a Rochester student. And as cheesy as it sounds, it's kind of hard to describe. And that's because our students are literally coming from everywhere. We have about, of the 5,500 students, a quarter are coming from overseas. We represent 140 countries and all states in the union. And then about a quarter of our students identify as being the first in their families to go to college. All of that diversity of experience and backgrounds are very represented in all of our organizations and all of our institutional traditions as well. One of the things that's pretty prominent amongst our students is a real drive to live by what at Rochester we call the spirit of meliora, Latin for ever better. The idea that everything that we do as a community is centered around lifting each other up, but also working together for the betterment of mankind. And so that spirit definitely informs a lot of what we offer in our academic program. At Rochester, we have an open curriculum. We do not have core classes or general education requirements. And so if you have a passion for the arts, if you love business, if you've always been curious about biology, you'd be able to take those classes from the moment that you arrive on campus. There is one required class, and that's a writing class. But beyond that, you have the latitude to explore all the things that you're really passionate about and be the kind of learner that you want to be. It definitely changes the classroom experience because that means that every single student that's in your classes has made the very intentional choice to be in that class. So that means a lot of spirited conversation. It tends to spill over into life outside of the classroom. So our students are also incredibly academically engaged and very, very curious. It's very exciting to talk about an open curriculum, but it can also be very overwhelming because it does mean that you're spearheading your academic experience and making a lot of decisions. The great thing is we are one of the smallest research universities in the country, and so our student to faculty ratio is 10 to 1. You have a network of people that are going to be working with you to be able to support you through the process of making some of these decisions, but also partnering with you along the way to make some really big choices about things like internships. We're super excited that almost 100% of our students will be involved in at least one internship over the course of their undergraduate program at Rochester. And because there's more latitude with your program, it's not uncommon for our students to graduate having majored in 2 areas of study, sometimes 3, on occasion 4. But we really want you to feel open to explore all the things that you're most curious about without feeling like you're being hindered by any requirements. At heart, we're still a research university. And so what's unique at Rochester is that about 3/4 of our students, of our undergraduate students, will be involved in research. We want our undergraduate students to contribute to that, giving back to the community and having a lasting impact on the betterment of mankind. It's not something that just happens at the graduate level. At Rochester, our undergraduate students can apply to get undergraduate research grants to fund their own original work. It's not unusual to actually graduate from Rochester having been published. We have our own undergraduate research journal, and that presents the opportunity for students to really explore. Also, research is not just happening in one discipline, it's actually happening across disciplines. And so if you're thinking lab coats and bleakers when I talk about research, it's appropriate, but also dance, also in linguistics, across areas of study, there's opportunity to create and to innovate. With that, I'm going to pause actually and just share Rochester went test optional last year. And so our admissions process has always been holistic. We take into account all aspects of who you are as a student, but then our admitted students, for admitted students, we do meet full demonstrated financial need. On your screen, you'll also see all of our application cycles and deadlines, and then an invitation for you to attend any one of our virtual events to learn more about Rochester, along with my contact information. And I welcome your questions. Thanks so much for being with us here tonight.
What a wonderful way to get us started. Thank you so much, the University of Rochester. I'm going to turn it over now to the University of Vermont, whenever you're ready.
Great, thanks, Jeannie, and hi, everyone. Just let me get my screen going here, and we should be good to go. All right, thanks again, everyone. My name is Chris Prolongo. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Vermont, and I oversee our New York City recruitment, something I'm pretty proud of, because as a former New York City resident, born and raised in Queens, moved to Burlington about 6 years ago, and a first-generation college student, it's good to be home, even if virtually. So I know I only have about 6 minutes to run through my presentation, so I'll try to be quick. But at the same time, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Happy to help out. And I'll put my contact info in there as well. So let's get started. So UVM, we've been around since 1791. We're actually the 5th oldest institution in New England after Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, and Brown. We're a small public Ivy designated research institution. And our roughly 10,000 undergraduate students have all the benefits of a large research university with a more intimate college setting that's walking distance from downtown Burlington. We're a bit different from a state flagship in the sense that only about 75% of our students will come from out of state, meaning 25% of our students come from in-state. We cover 46 different states and over 60 different countries last time. So nothing against our Vermonters, there just aren't as many of them. And we also offer 100 different majors and 7 undergraduate schools and colleges, including an honors college, a graduate college, and a college of medicine, all right on campus. Now, undergraduate students can also pursue over 40 different accelerated master's programs, ranging from public health to complex systems and data science. Now, what I want to talk about next is what makes UVM a little bit different. First, it's what we call our academic ecosystem. It's a combination of all things University of Vermont. It's the campus, the lake, the mountains, and the city of Burlington. You see that before you. It's a pretty amazing place to be. It's maybe, if you follow my cursor, about 3 blocks away from campus there, a safe walk down the hill. And to get to the lake, about another 5 minutes there too. So between those 4 different parts of our campus, our community, in terms of the academic ecosystem, it presents a lot of opportunities for students coming from around the world. We have over 100 service learning options and courses, 200 clubs and organizations, Division I sports, and more than 10,000 internships, and over 70 study abroad opportunities around the world. There are plenty of ways to get involved. So you could do research on Lake Champlain or go for a walk along the 22-mile bike path that runs right next to it. The Green Mountains offer some of the best hiking and skiing on the East Coast. As a land-grant institution, they are home to UVM field stations around Vermont, including Mount Mansfield, the highest peak, our Cream Dairy facility, featuring our own student-run cattle herd and horse farm, or on board our 40-foot research vessel, the Melisira, which is docked just steps away on Lake Champlain. Now, the second thing that makes our students a little bit different is the sense that they're engaged, they're involved, they want to make a difference. UVM recently made the decision to fully divest from fossil fuels, and more than 25% of the food on our campus comes from local farms. We're the first institution to declare public support for freedom of religion, and the first to admit women and African Americans into the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society. Every student who arrives at the University of Vermont signs what we call our Common Ground Pledge, a commitment to the values of respect, integrity, innovation, openness, justice, and responsibility. They find support in our identity centers, including our Mosaic Center for Students of Color, our PRISM Center for students who identify as LGBTQA+, our Interfaith Center, and our Women and Gender Equity Center. And every student who attends the University of Vermont will take required coursework in diversity, sustainability, quantitative reasoning, and foundational writing. Our students are also committed to their community. Now, at UVM, we do housing a little bit differently in the sense that our students live and learn together in what we call residential learning communities. 8 different theme-based housing modules, ranging from sustainability to social impact to our nationally recognized wellness environment. 100% of our first-year students live in these learning communities for the first 2 years you're on campus, so residency is actually required. From there, about half of students will move off campus, take full advantage of downtown Burlington, where you can enjoy all the city has to offer, but also volunteer, have internships, and find employment during and after your academic career. And as you mentioned a few times, UVM would not be without Burlington, and Burlington would not be without UVM. The city is just an incredible place to go, whether you're enjoying church streets, food, coffee, and art galleries and shopping, but also a way to benefit from internships in business, tech, science, and other fields. You can work with local icons such as Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, Burton Snowboards, and 7th Generation. Burlington International Airport is about 10 minutes from campus driving. So it's a quick ride with direct connections to all the major hubs, including New York, where you can grab a flight out of LaGuardia, JFK, or Newark and be in Burlington in less than an hour. And when the border opens back up, Montreal is just 90 minutes away. So you can drive about an hour and a half north, speak French in a city of 4 million people, and come back and do it all on a Saturday afternoon. Now, in terms of our application process, pretty straightforward in the sense that when students apply to University of Vermont, they'll apply directly to one of our 7 different schools or colleges with a selected major or is undecided, and that's completely okay. We review the same way. The Honors College, however, requires no separate application, and you'll be considered based on your application alone. It is by invitation only, and usually reserved for the top 5% of our applicant pool. Students can apply with the Common App or the Coalition application, and deadlines for early action of November 1st and a regular decision deadline of January 15th. We usually notify students within 6 weeks of their application. We were test optional this past year, and we will be test optional for 2022 as well as 2023. Last year, we had a record-setting application year. We were up 40% on our applications. We usually get about 17,000. Last year, we got about 26,000. So we were busy, to say the least. But the reason why I point that out is about half of our students applied test optional, and about half applied with testing. And as we had it, about half of our students were admitted with testing, and half of our students were admitted without testing. So the message there is, if you have the SATs or ACTs and you want to submit them, you can. If you don't feel like you're at a disadvantage at UVM. We'll consider you for the Honors College, for merit scholarship, as well as for admission, of course. Now, to round out our application, we do require 1 letter of recommendation, an essay, and of course our optional essays. And we offer 5 of them. And while they are optional, it's with a bit of a wink, because it doesn't mean you won't get in if you don't do it, but I highly recommend them. And as a person who's been doing this a long time at a couple of different institutions, that probably goes synonymous with saying, if you see an optional essay, take advantage if you can. They're meant to be fun. And a good example of that is we asked an optional essay question this year. to kind of play off our Ben and Jerry's theme. They're about 30 minutes south of us. And we asked students to come up with an ice cream flavor that best represents who they are and their character and personality. We had some really great submissions and some really telling signs. So again, you see UVM, have a little bit of fun with our optional essays. We offer 4 more in addition to our Ben and Jerry's ice cream essay. And of course, wrapping up, we do offer scholarship and financial aid. You see on the slide before us that 88% of our students qualify for financial aid of some type, with merit scholarships ranging upwards of $20,000 for out-of-state students. So they require no separate application. You'll be reviewed for that based on a loan. In terms of our academic profile, as I mentioned, we were up in applications, and our first year class should be roughly around 2,600 students. We're hoping covering all 50 states, but right now we're at about 47 different states and over 60 different countries. Our student of color representation is about 13%, and international population hovering around 7%. So for a smaller school in Burlington, we are getting students from all over the world. It's a very cosmopolitan city and the campus right in the middle of it. So we hope you'll see us. We're not doing any tours just yet for prospective students. We hope by the summertime we will, but just check in on our website and I'll drop a link in the chat with some of our virtual opportunities and a way to register for more information. Thanks again for coming. I think I'm at my time and I'll turn it over to my next speaker. Thanks so much, Jeannie.
Thank you, University of Vermont. Great presentation. I want to remind all of our attendees that that Q&A function is open, so make sure you get your questions in. And now we're going to turn it over to Worcester Polytechnic Institute whenever you're ready.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. I think UVM has to stop sharing screen. Okay, thank you. Right. Can you see my screen okay?
Looks great.
Okay, awesome. So hi everyone, my name is Claudia Aviles. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an assistant director for diversity and outreach initiatives here at WPI. And WPI, or Worcester Polytechnic Institute, is located in Massachusetts. We're about 50 miles west of Boston, and we're about 180 miles away from New York City. So about 3 hours. I am the counselor also, or the admissions representative for New York City, the 5 boroughs. So if you have any questions, I would be your go-to person in the office. And I'll make sure to share my contact information with everyone at the end. But to get us started, WPI is a STEM-focused university with a project-based curriculum. We offer a little over 50 different degree programs. The most popular one is engineering. We have 12 different types for you to try out. We also have a computer science program. It's currently the 2nd most popular program at the university. And then we have a subset of our students who will study different majors in the science and math field. So majors like biochem, physics, math. These are options for our students as well. Something for you to know is that each year we have about 20% of our incoming class who enroll as undecided. This may mean that they want to study something in the STEM field, but maybe they don't know exactly what that is yet. That's okay. When you apply to the university, you're not applying to a school within the university or a major or program. You apply to the institution as a whole. And we make our decision to admit you based on the belief that you'd find success in any one of our STEM programs that you choose to study. To give you a sense of size, we have about 4,500 undergraduates at the university. We also have about 2,000 graduate students, but the focus is at the undergraduate level. We have a 13-to-1 student to faculty ratio, and we try to keep that on the smaller end because of the nature of the project-based curriculum. We want students to have those opportunities to meet with their professors. And in terms of being able to double major and minor, our students definitely have those opportunities. And we also offer the opportunity for students to get their bachelor's and master's degree in 4 or 5 years. It might not be for everyone, and it is quite challenging, but for students who know that that's something that they want to do, you can start planning it out with your faculty advisor as early as your 1st or 2nd year on campus so that they can tell you how to plan out your courses and your schedule. Something we're also really proud of is our retention rate at WPI from a student's first year to their sophomore year. That's at 95%. We have some incredible programs for students to participate in, such as the Insight program, which is an orientation program for all of our students. We also have a program called Connections for students who identify as LGBTQIAP+, as first-gen students, as students of color. And it's a pre-orientation program to help students acclimate and sort of transition to WPI, get to know different resources on campus before school even starts. And that takes place for about a week. We also have opportunities for students to participate in research at the undergraduate level. You don't have to wait till you're a graduate student. It's as simple as talking to your professor about research that you may want to do. So that's something for you to be aware of. We also have a different sort of academic calendar. We divide our year into 4 terms. Each term is 7 weeks long, and students take 3 classes in each of these 7 weeks. So it moves at a fast pace, but students do have the option over the summer, if you're interested in taking courses or maybe doing an internship, that is possible for you as well. We have a non-punitive grading policy, so only give out 4 grades, an A, B, C, or an NR, which stands for no record. And we also have a flexible curriculum. We don't have any prerequisites for upper level courses. We have something called recommended background. So if you wanted to jump in and challenge yourself, you're definitely able to do that. And you have advising from your faculty advisor in your major. As I mentioned before, WPI does have a project-based curriculum. Almost all of your classes will have some sort of project, but students have the opportunity to go away to complete projects in their junior and senior years. We have a project called the IQP Interactive Qualifying Project, and it's a social-based project you're working on and using your STEM skill set to solve that problem. About 90% of our students choose to do it at an off-campus location, and students can also choose to do their major qualifying project, their senior year capstone, at one of our off-campus locations. To make sure that this is financially feasible for students, WPI does offer up to $5,000 for students who would like to have that opportunity in a global scholarship. And that's something that we've had in place since the class of 2024. And in terms of some career development resources to tell you a little bit about, the Career Development Center each year brings a little over 400 recruiters to campus to talk to students about different job opportunities, internships, co-ops. One takes place in the fall, the other takes place in the spring, but they also each year publish a report called the First Destinations Outcome Report, where by major they sort of will publish where students are working after they've graduated, where they're going to graduate school, average starting salary information. So definitely a resource for folks to check out if you're interested in seeing more of that. And to tell you a little bit about our campus life, we are primarily residential campus. First year students are guaranteed housing on campus, but past your first year, you're not. So about 56% of our upperclassmen will live on campus. In terms of extracurriculars for you to do and partake in, we are NCAA Division III varsity school. We have 10 varsity men's teams, 10 varsity women's teams. We also have sports at the club and intramural level. So if you don't want to play at the varsity level, you can certainly do intramural or club. And then if sports aren't your thing altogether, that's okay. We have a little over 250 different student clubs and organizations for you to get involved in. So hopefully you can find something that is of interest to you. And then to tell you a little bit about our admissions overview and requirements, we are one of many schools on Common Application. We do have a supplemental essay question where we ask you why you think you're a good fit for the university. We want to see that you've done some research. We require your high school transcript, 2 letters of recommendation, and then for international students, proof of English proficiency. Something new this year is that we will be test blind as of this next cycle. And so test scores are not a factor that will be considered in our admissions review. So that's something for you to keep in mind. And then we're also, in terms of interviews, we offer optional ones. If you want to take us up on their offer, you can sign up for an interview this summer and we'll conducting them virtually, so you can do that. We're also going to be open this summer for visits. So if you're interested, you can scan this QR code so you could get information from WPI, but we will have student tours and information sessions. We also have a lot of things virtually. So if you can't make it to campus, that's okay. There are virtual programs that we'll be having, so you can partake in that way. And then the last thing I do want to mention is that we have a couple of different opportunities for students to take classes over the summer through some pre-college programs. We have one called Launch, and then Frontiers, which you can do for, not for credit, just to kind of get an introduction to STEM. And then we have one where you could get college credit. So something for you to keep in mind. And with that being said, I'm gonna transition to our next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, WPI. That was wonderful. Okay, we are going to turn it over now to Kenyon College.
Thank you so much. My name is Terry McHugh, and I have the joy and the honor of having brought one of our seniors, Liza Brilliant. We like to travel with our own students in the sense that there are no greater experts on the Kenyon student experience than the actual students themselves. Before we go into our conversation with you, I am going to show you a video. So hold on a second. I want to make sure that I've got this right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can, Terry.
Perfect. And here we go.
Free Kenyon.
Okay, so we tried to cram everything we think you need to know about Kenyon and our community in 2 minutes and 46 seconds. So some critical takeaways. At Kenyon, we are located on one, oops.
I think the campus is really what won me over.
Oops, sorry,
So-
hold on a second.
Kenyon is one of the few places that I would say
I'm
reminds
so
me
sorry,
of-
okay. Nobody should allow me to do anything technical, so I'm so apologize about that. Okay, here we go back to the screen. Okay, so at Kenyon, we're located on 1,000 rural acres in central Ohio. Now, like my lovely colleague at the University of Vermont, I too am from Queens, first generation to college student. I'm a Stuyvesant grad, and I oversee New York City admissions. And in the freshman class, about 1 in 10 of the freshmen who came in this year were from the boroughs, mainly Manhattan and Brooklyn. But Liza, I think you can say, how many New Yorkers do you know?
Oh my gosh, honestly, too many to count. It's so funny because one of the things is, obviously being located in Ohio, we are a rural campus. However, some of our biggest sort of feeders are New York and LA, and I'm actually from DC. So I can definitely say that despite being from a larger city, definitely the rural environment speaks to me.
Absolutely. And I think that's, we talk about being an intentional community at Kenyon. Nobody comes to Kenyon by accident. Nobody is driving down the road in Gambier, Ohio, in central Ohio, and saying, let me take this exit. Let me see if there's a college, which we know you can do in New York State and you can do in New England. I think you can even do that in California. That's not the case in Central Ohio. So literally, and more than anything, in a kind of a very thoughtful, mindful way, students who choose the Kenyon community, and they come from almost 50 states and almost 50 countries, are students who say to themselves, I want to be part of a community where everything I say and every action I take goes to the building of a community. And that's why in our little film, we showed you people doing basically anything and everything. You have multiple identities at Kenyon. You don't wear just one hat. Liza, can you share a little bit of the hats that you wear at Kenyon?
Sure.
Any discovery hats?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, outside of being a senior, I'm an anthropology major. I also concentrate in women and gender studies as well as African diaspora studies. So I do a lot of work with intersectionality and identity politics. I work for the admissions office. I am one of the co-head tour guides this year, but I am also a senior admissions fellow as well as a tour guide. I also work for the anthropology department. I am one of the presidents of one of our many, many, many a cappella groups on campus, the Owl Creek Singers. And I do a lot of other things as well. I contribute to some of our publications on campus. We have honestly too many to count, but it is true what Terry said. There are just so many different ways that you can do Kenyon. One of my favorite things is going on to an info session, which is typically where we'll have a moderator such as Terry, and we will have 4 or 5 Kenyon students, and you'll see just all of the different ways that you can do Kenyon. Even my housemates, I have 2 of them that are English majors. One's an English and drama double. I have another that's a philosophy and a neuroscience major, and we have incredible conversations all the time from such a variety of different perspectives. And that's honestly my favorite thing about Kenyon, is that there are so many different ways to do it, but we're all intensely passionate about something, and we're able to bond over the fact that we are just passionate students who want to learn and want to sort of learn about each other's studies and learn about what we're doing in our own courses. So very, very fun to do. But many hats is definitely our thing.
Thank you for sharing all that. So at Kenyon, you saw some of the, you could see that those were residence halls, 100% residential for 4 years. And that is by design. We think you only get one shot at this, and we want you to have it in a full way. We also have one dining hall by design. It is a stunning facility. The trustees made an intentional decision to add to something that looked like, the Great Hall at, Harry Potter's Great Hall, and added a soaring glass addition. And it's a perfect embodiment of Kenyon's tradition. We were founded in the 1820s, 1824. So we're coming up on our bicentennial anniversary, and we're also incredibly progressive and forward-looking. For those of you who are New Yorkers with any interest in politics, we have something called the Center for the Study of American Democracy at Kenyon. And if you want a front row seat to the American democratic process and also to presidential elections, please come to Ohio. So many of our coastal students will say, oh, this is very different. I will also say, while we are a liberal campus, we're located in a pretty conservative county in what is a purple state. So it's a fascinating cross section. Many of our students, find that because of where we're located, their perspective and understanding of being a student in America and an understanding of America is enhanced dramatically. And I think, Liza, even though you're from DC, wouldn't you say that has been the case?
Oh, absolutely. I honestly wouldn't be anywhere else in this political climate. I think it's a fantastic place to sort of learn about, the political climate of our country. And some of the best conversations I have with my English, drama, philosophy, neuro, everything majors that I am around with are just that, about sort of the state of American democracy. And our CSAD did a wonderful 6-part series about that earlier this fall, which is also available on YouTube.
Yes, perfect. Thank you for plugging that. And then finally, as a lot of liberal arts colleges, we ask you to take coursework across areas. We feel like it would be a mistake to put you out in the world without a genuine understanding of coursework across divisions. And we're trying to cultivate some depth as well as breadth at Kenyon. So you, before graduating, you need to take courses in the humanities, the arts. Did you see all those people creating art in that short video? In the natural sciences, and we include psychology in that, as well as the social sciences. And you need to take 2 courses in one discipline. That's the way we go a little deeper. So somebody might take intro psych, fall in love with it, and complete their science requirements with a second psychology major doing a deeper dive.
Kenyon University, I'm so sorry. We have to get moving on here, but that was such a wonderful way. If you want to let them know where they can learn more.
Perfect. Thank you.
Do you want to let them know where they can learn more?
Oh, yes. I was putting it in the chat. I thought that's perfect. Please come to our website at kenyon.edu. And also Liza and I are also very happy to share our emails. I'm mchugh1@kenyon.edu, and she's brilliant1 at kenyon.edu.
I will put that in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. A great way to wrap up this portion of the event. Okay, well, after hearing from all of these fantastic institutions, we're going to move now into a Q&A. So I'm going to ask all of my fellow panelists to join me on video here. And we are going to start off with a very important question for all of our attendees. And that is, what advice would you give someone going through the college search process? Starting us off here is the University of Rochester.
We're in a really strange space, knowing that everything that's been happening around us has moved us into this virtual world. And I know that it's also been very difficult, but I would argue that colleges and universities are even more available than we were before to answer questions, to help with information. A lot of faculty and advisors are also available that perhaps wouldn't have been when you visited on our campuses in person. So take advantage of these opportunities and feel free to reach out to us if we can in any way be a resource. Let us know. We want to try to get you through this really difficult time.
Great way to kick that question off. Okay, University of Vermont, what would you like to add?
Yeah, second Erica's sentiment. I agree. It's been a place where, the pandemic experience has forced us to kind of go virtually and go online. And while it's been challenging for everybody, the access piece has been really something to focus on. And we've received interest from around the world for students who otherwise wouldn't be able to make it up to Burlington, Vermont. We're not exactly on the beaten path either. You got to come find us. So we've seen a lot of students coming through our way. And again, we're happy to see that diversity in every sense of the word. So I would say, to build on that, yes, at this point, realize that admissions counselors are humans too. We want to talk to you. We want to engage. We want to hear from you. We too have had a stressful time for this whole thing, and still are, as May 1 comes along and our senior class comes in. So recognize that we're all in this together, and feel free to reach out yourselves, parents, guardians. We're here to support each other, and it's a process across the board for all of our colleagues. So again, don't be afraid. There's no shame in doing so. We're happy to help.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Worcester Polytechnic Institute, what advice do you have?
Yes, I think I would second everything that Erica and Chris have already shared, but I would also share that I remember just being in my college search process and thinking, oh my goodness, my admissions counselor, I had her tell me, oh, you can reach out to professors and ask them about classes and, ask to see a syllabus. And I remember thinking, professors don't have time to speak to me. Like, that is they just don't have time. My admissions counselor, I was always so nervous to reach out because I just felt like I didn't have that right. And I just want to empower students on this call for you to know that you have access to information. You have every right to information. There are faculty members, people who want to talk to you, who are here for you. That's their job. Students who want to speak to you as well. So know that while you're going through this process, admissions officers, we are a great resource for you, but also know that you can speak to other people in the university. We can help make those connections for you as well. If you want to talk to students, if you want to talk to faculty, staff, we're happy to make those introductions. And there are a lot of people on campuses who are genuinely excited to talk to you more and help you make your college decision. So know that you have a right to information, and I hope you feel empowered to ask your questions, because no question is a silly question.
Great advice. Thank you, WPI. Okay, Kenyon College, we'll have one of you finish us out with this question.
Yeah, so actually, I think that a really important piece of advice that I can give is to talk to students. I know it can be very intimidating to reach out to your counselors. I know I face that, sort of anxiety and those nerves. But at Kenyon, at least, I can't speak for the other institutions here, but we have almost 100 students employed in our office, both as tour guides and as admissions fellows. We also just finished hiring for our summer admissions interns. So we have a whole wide variety of students from a wide variety of majors and disciplines and all those different hats that we were talking about, who not only want to talk to you, but that is their job, is to talk to you. And I genuinely don't think that I would have had as successful, despite the times and the chaos of this past year, I genuinely don't think I would have gotten through it if it weren't for some of those connections I made with students from all around the world. As obviously the pandemic was awful, but it did increase our accessibility this year. And I was able to interview people from, Ibadan in Nigeria to the state of Georgia to all over the world. And so I really do think that as much as you can reach out to students, we are those, experts on campus and on student life. So I would definitely encourage you to reach out.
Great advice. Wonderful way to close that question. So that one was advice for all of our attendees, regardless of what institution they end up at. But this next question will help us learn a little bit more about each of your respective campuses. So the question I'm going to kick off with the University of Rochester again is, what event or tradition on campus is your favorite?
So Rochester is upstate New York and can get a little chilly, just being honest. There's actually a network of tunnels that connects the campus during those chilly winter months, but also during the really hot summer months. So one of my favorite traditions is the painting of the tunnels. When you get to visit campus and actually kind of want to get a pulse of what's happening on campus, walking through the tunnels and seeing what's been painted on the tunnels is a great way to know what's happening on campus, but also what's on the students' minds. It could be political perspectives, it could be an event that's taking place. It's just a wonderful way to kind of get a sense for the spirit of the community on campus. So that's kind of my favorite tradition.
I love it. Thank you. Great way to start us off. Okay, University of Vermont, your favorite event or tradition?
Sure thing. It's something I alluded to in my presentation, where it's the candle lighting ceremony at our welcome week for students. The whole first year class comes down. We kind of crowd the quad. You can kind of see it behind me in the picture. But the whole campus community comes down. It's like the welcome for the first year students. And we also sign that common ground pledge early too. It's a candle lighting ceremony. And yeah, like I said, it'll be happening in just a few short months, believe it or not. But probably the most fun tradition we have.
I love it. Very special. Thank you. WPI, what is your favorite event or tradition?
I love anything to do with food. So I love the International Food Festival that we have. I know probably other universities have their own sort of version of it, but the International Student Council put out a call to the community asking who's interested in participating, and from faculty members to staff to students, people cook different cultural dishes, and we get together in the campus center, and it's just really fun to gather with students and other campus partners and get together over a meal and watch some really awesome performances. So that's my favorite event that happens every year.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with food from all over the world. All right. Okay, and then closing this question, Kenyon College, your favorite event or tradition?
Yeah, so my personal favorite tradition is actually a bookend tradition. So when you come in your first year at Kenyon, you go through orientation, and then at the end of orientation is what we call the first year sing. So you line up on the steps of Ross Hall, which if you noticed in the video is right in front of those little angel statues, another funny tradition, but I won't talk about that one. And so you line up all on the steps of Ross Hall, the entire first year class piles up, and then we sing these three songs that are some of our favorite songs from honestly like back in the 1800s, and we will sing them out to the upperclassmen. The upperclassmen will yell, they'll scream, they'll chant, they'll try and interrupt you and throw you off in any way that you possibly can, just to like, get you rowdy and riled up. And then at the end of your 4 years as a senior, you actually do the same tradition, except this time it's everyone below you, the juniors, the sophomores, and the first years. And instead of being super rowdy, they're actually all really upset because obviously we are all preparing to graduate, but it's a really nice, fun bookend tradition, and the fact that the entire school comes and piles out onto the lawn and is yelling and cheering, and we have Doc Locke, who was in the video and conducting and trying to keep it all orderly, and it's very chaotically beautiful. It's one of my favorite Kenyon traditions.
Well, you've done a wonderful job describing it for us all to imagine. It sounds awesome. Okay, we have been so fortunate to have such a wonderful group of panelists representing these great institutions. I certainly learned a lot, and I hope everyone did as well, and that you'll do some additional research to learn more about each of these campuses. So as we wrap up here, I want to remind everyone that this session, along with all of the others, are being recorded. I dropped the link in the chat again. It is strivescan.com/Brooklyn Tech. Make sure that you check out this recording along with all of the others. When you close this out today, you're going to get a very quick 4-question survey. Any information that you can provide us about the event will be most appreciated as we work to improve these events in the future. And last but not least, this event is taking place again tomorrow and Wednesday, so make sure you check out additional options to hear about campuses of interest. Okay, everyone, to our panelists, thank you for being here. To our attendees, thank you for being here, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye, everyone.